Hey, good morning, guys, again, leaders. And this morning we want to talk about the impact of leadership, the results, the effects of leadership. And it's something that we see every day. We see different the conditions of different organizations or different units, different lives, and we can actually measure the impact of leadership. And you know that we are measuring or we are looking at it through the eyes of how the greatest leader who ever lived sees it, the greatest leader, Jesus Christ, right? The King, Jesus Christ the King. I have to specify that. Good, yeah. Many people um, looking at a Jesus Christ that is not Jesus Christ the King, all right? The King of Kings and Lord of Lords, the one who was with the Creator in the beginning and is the Creator in the beginning. All right, that's John 1:1 says. So through his eyes, we're looking at the impact of leadership, and we're looking at the impact of leadership in our nations, in our communities, in our families, even in our own personal lives. And this impact, this effect, this result, you can see it how things are structured, how things eventually come to be, the outcomes. Not necessarily the one-off, or you have what you call the incidentals that takes place now and then, the exceptions. But you can see it by the rule, what seems consistent, that this is the impact. But a lot of people sometimes focus on the impact and not the cause of the impact. What is causing that impact? What is causing that result? And a lot of times we blame leaders. Leaders are blamed because they are doing something. But as far as they're concerned, they're thinking that they're doing the best they can. Um, the people who are looking on, who are looking to the leader for guidance, or who are looking at the leader to guide others or to change the conditions, who are looking on, they are focused on the leader himself or herself, and not trying to figure out, okay, is there something that the leader needs help with? Is there something outside of the leadership sphere, but I'm seeing this issue? I'm not the leader there, but I'm seeing this problem. And am I thinking about, okay, is there something he needs help with or she needs help with? Or is there something that they're not seeing? Instead of complaining that, yes, this you need to fix this, you need to fix that. The person might not even know how to fix it. Right? Sometimes that happens. And the impact of leadership have some repercussions that goes beyond the immediate interaction or the immediate project or assignment. It spills over into other things down the road. And everyone in leadership, we think, should know that, but not everyone knows that, because a lot of times people are in leadership positions but aren't trained how to be leaders. There's this old question which keeps coming up in every leadership circle, really. I've seen it over the last 30 years. I remember in the 90s when we were listening to John Maxwell and visionary leadership and all these things in the 90s. And you realize even from there, you still have it today. This question keep coming up of are leaders born or leaders made? And of course, we know the answer by now because so many people have been able to speak on the topic. Leaders are both born and made. They're both, right? But of course, there are some who just focus on, who believe that leaders are made, right? And there are some who believe that leaders are born only. But if you look across the board and you take a comprehensive view and you listen to enough and read enough information, you realize they're both, right? Yeah. But how is it? How is that? If it's born and made, then whatever impact that is not favorable, that's not beneficial, that could change, right? because it could change the results you're getting. Yes, every leader could change the result they're getting, yes. And of course, we know by now that in order for change the result they're getting, they have to know what is it I need to change doing or believing or thinking or applying. All right, what habits and so forth. All the different steps to make the change. But one of the things that I realized, a lot of the ordinary person don't believe they are leaders. They are in themselves, they're a leader, and therefore they refuse to take action to correct simple things because they think that it's someone else's responsibility. Everything around them um, that doesn't relate to their immediate sphere of operation or influence is someone else's responsibility. That's the normal thinking of the average person. And that is why you have national leaders can influence people to live under certain conditions until they, the national leader, do something about it. And if they don't do something about it, nothing is done. And then people still remain in their challenge or problem or unfavorable condition until the national leader does something about it. Right? Because in their minds, it's not my responsibility. And they see their responsibility as, most people see their responsibility as what is in the immediate sphere, that is in my room or in my house, or the job you pay me to do. That's it. Right? There are these things that we learn. And it's just a matter of the lack of training in leadership, how to be the leader we were born to be. There are those who have explored and have recognized, yes, that that can't be all. I can't continue living in this condition that I'm seeing around me, whether it's garbage on the road, whether it's bush growing in the land next door that's not necessarily mine, whether it's the drains are being clogged, or whether it's a utensil in the house that I didn't use, or or the dust on the ground that's in the living room or in the yard, in the public area in the house that everybody uses, is not my responsibility. It's somebody else's responsibility. Some people recognize that, okay, this I need to do something about it because I'm here, because I'm living here, because I'm walking here, because I am operating in this area, and this condition is unfavorable. It's unhealthy. It's not helpful. It's destructive, or it's gonna take away from me. It's a liability even. Because of that, if nobody else is doing something about it, I will do something about it. Some people take of that, and that's good. That's what's needed. But where does it come from? Where does the change of the impact comes from? How come some people take up the responsibility and say, okay, I'm going to change the impact that is being manifested here, that people are seeing here. I'm going to change what is happening here. All right? I'm going to change that. And I'm going to do something about this thing, even though it's not in my immediate sphere of influence. But it's something that I have access to. I can do something about it without any repercussion. And because I am operating in the area, nobody don't have to tell me that this is my responsibility. It's something that's open to anybody's responsibility. Sweeping the living room in a house that you belong to should be anybody's responsibility who lives in the house. It should not be that you only take care of your room because it's just yours, or you take care of your utensils that you use when you wash them because you use them and you leave everybody else alone. I mean, this impact is from little things like that, right up to seeing issues in the community around you, and seeing, when I say issues, not just physical issues with the physical environment, but also lives, people's lives. You're seeing some youths and there is something wrong about how they spend their time. They're wasting time. They're all about their aimless. Or maybe some youths need help with schoolwork. How do I help these youths with schoolwork, these students with schoolwork? Or with something. Maybe they need guidance in something. Youths don't have work. Is there something to do to help them find a job, or help them maybe educate themselves, or guide them in life? Just seeing things like that is an impact. You're changing an impact. You're changing a result, right? And seeing those things and then taking action to do something about it, even though it's not your immediate responsibility, is expressing what a leader is. It is seeing something that needs work, or that needs adjustment, or somebody needs to do something about it, and you decide to try to do something about it without anybody asking you. As a matter of fact, you could try to do something about it and then realize that somebody actually was working and doing something about it as well. And next thing you know, more than one person seeing the need, deciding to take action, and then you have 3-4 persons collaborating to do something about a problem that they recognize in the society or in the community somewhere, right? Or in the office or in an organization, right? And we see a lot of that happening. Even in organizations, people are free to speak up, or to highlight something that they see something is wrong with what is happening here. Is anybody seeing this? Is everybody okay with this? Would anybody like to do something about it? Because it's not going to help everybody. It's actually going to take from them. It's a destructive situation. It's going to lead to harm or destruction or loss of some kind in people's lives, and somebody needs to do something about this. And sometimes people are afraid to speak up, not knowing that there are 3-4 persons seeing it, want to speak up, and might be thinking the same thing, right? But it's nice to see when people see the thing, see what's happening. Could be on the job, some people are taken advantage of, or the company's cutting corners, right? And then they decide to do something about it. I have a friend who recently left a job because the company was not willing to keep the standard high, right? And that's what in What's Your Genius, in genius study, they realize that that's one of the things about geniuses. Geniuses don't just do things the way everybody do it. They recognize that the way they do it is better, it's another standard, and they do it the way they do it. And if you don't want them to do it that way, they leave and they go and do it the way they see the best way to do it, right? Because they realize there's a better way, there's a higher quality of result when I do it this way. And if you want them to operate below that quality, a lot of geniuses, they just move on, right? That's built into us. But fear can stop it from manifesting, from coming out. Fear of intimidation, fear of rejection, fear of loss, right? Fear of discrimination. There's so much, right? And you have needs, and therefore you're afraid that you won't be treated fairly, so that you can meet your needs, so that you can live, so that you can survive. There's this thing of survival that just there. And we need to now find, how do we address, if we are people who see the need in our nation, for example, and maybe there were some decisions made that we weren't privy to, and led the country or led us to a place that is unfavorable, that is unhealthy, that is harmful. Somebody or people need to stand up and say, okay, is anybody seeing this? Is everybody okay with this? Somebody needs to start asking questions. I'm thankful for the podcasts, different podcasts that are coming out now, where people are showing their disagreement. They're bringing to light decisions made by national leaders and so forth, and seeing the errors of our ways, which a lot of decisions were made in error. But that was the past. We have to move forward. How do we move forward? How do we now say, okay, can we correct this? Can we go back and change some treaty, some agreement, and go back to the table and say, okay, what we thought we had is not what we have. We thought this is what we have, but this is not what we have. We have something that is harmful to us, that is detrimental to us. This is not helping. We need to correct this. Somebody needs to stand up and say that. And if the powers that be aren't willing, are the people willing to stand up and say it? We're seeing it happening in Africa. That they say, okay, if this is cannot, if this person is not changing their way of operating, then we can't continue like this, right? Unfortunately, it leads to war of some kind, whether it's civil war of some kind, right? Some sort of coup, something that should be avoided at all costs. But there are times when maybe efforts were made, people tried, and yes, not maybe, yes, people tried, efforts were made, but some people are just stuck in their ways, and there are times when we have to say no, have to move on. Simple things like living in a community and seeing garbage and then doing something about it. Simple thing as living in a home and seeing things all about the place and nobody doing something about it. Yeah. And people think that the impact is because of the lack of finances as the major excuse, major reason people give. I beg to differ. Because I realize there are things that people could think about that requires initiative, sometimes collaboration and partnership, without you having the finances, and you get something done, right? It wouldn't be as perfect, but you do something about what is happening, right? I've experienced that with my grass growing on my land, and weren't able to pay the landscaper, but I had to do something about it. I have to get out there and pull grass, right? Simple things like that. Even in our community, one week, it was just garbage just piling up. And I find that was strange. What is happening here? And walk out the road and realize, wait a minute, it's the whole street. So I decided to call the regional corporation to find out what is happening. We haven't received the truck hasn't showed up in a week, right? What is happening? And they explained to me the situation. All right. And actually, I was even telling her, I took some videos, and I was telling the lady on the other end in the corporation, I have some videos here. Do you want me to send them on Facebook, or do you want me to send them to you? And she told me, send them to me. I sent them to her, and I realized people's garbage just piled up, right? And of course, we have dogs on the street. That could be a serious issue, all right? And the same day, I think the afternoon, garbage truck showed up. The evening, yeah, the truck showed up. So these are things that people can do something about it. As I said, it starts from your own home. It starts from your own mindset, your own thinking. Now, dealing with this whole impact of leadership and the effects of leadership, there are three major reasons for the adjustment, for the change. When somebody recognizes they are not the kind of person who will take matters into their hand or do something about it, and there are those who won't tolerate certain things. All right, but how do we get everybody on the same page? Not everybody is called to deal with things the same way. We aren't made the same way. But we have a part to play. We have to find out what is our part. All right. How we prefer to talk, how we prefer to share, how we prefer to interact, and so forth. Like what I'm doing here, and I'm talking to the camera. I don't like it at all. I don't like it. It's a struggle for me. I prefer to be interviewed or have a conversation with someone that's interacting, we sharing. I move and function better that way. Now, I can't do that for too long because I'm an introvert. But I function better that way. But because it's out of need, and I don't have much people to do this with, I do it until there's people to do it. And this is something I've been delaying this because I didn't have a group to share with, an audience to share with. I've been delaying it. A lot of the things that I've shared on my YouTube channel, I do it by myself because they have a live audience, but most of it there's an audience on YouTube. That audience on Zoom, when I use Zoom, an audience. So I'm speaking to an audience, and then there are questions sometimes after and so forth. But this time around, and I should say for the last few years, you have not an audience, so I'm speaking directly to you, to the camera, and then hopefully somebody look at it later on. So everybody's different. I prefer interaction, but the foundation of taking action, doing something about it, has to do with these three things. This one is the source of your leadership. Where did you get your leadership authority from? Who put you in that place of authority? Or did you decide, I'm going to take this up myself? Right? So the source, where did the leadership comes from? Now, of course, we dealt with the whole idea of leadership and so forth before, what it is and that sort of thing. Looking at all the different experts and leaders, and of course the greatest leader, and the source of where you got your leadership authority from gives you a courage to take action. It gives you a courage to take action. So if a low-level supervisor gives you a position or responsibility, you do it. Okay, right. But when the owner of the organization gives you a responsibility and says you are the one in charge of this one, so there is a courage that you go after it with, a confidence, a boldness that you go after it with, that you wouldn't normally get if a low-level supervisor give you the same position or tell you this is your responsibility. It's not the same, you know. And that source, that whole idea of a source of leadership, of the originating directive of leadership, I should say, where the direction came from, where the anointing, or another word, authorization, came from, is something that's built into us. Because in nature, we are the authority on the planet, the human beings, not the animals, not the weather, not AI, the human beings. And trying to praise or lift up anything else above the human being will meet with disaster. You'll meet with disaster. As a matter of fact, it's one of the reasons why economies that value money over people always get destroyed. Always. Right? Because they have raised the money or the economy over the person's well-being. But once you switch it around and you have the person's well-being or welfare as the highest value, and you're building an economy to feed that, to enhance the people's welfare and well-being, you realize you prosper. But anytime you switch and you want to destroy people's lives because of the money, because of the economy, or for more economic gain, you will end up with disaster. It will always backfire. Oh, we're seeing that now with some from countries. It will always backfire. It will not. It's built into nature. It's how the Creator set things up. That we are the ones to rule, not the economy to rule, not the finances to rule, right? And there are other things like that. But the source, where you got it from. The second thing is the person itself, who is doing the leading, who is doing the responsibility, who is doing the assignment. What is that person like? What are you like? What is your character? What is your build? What is your belief system? What is your perspective? You as a person, whoever the person is that is doing the assignment or given the authority, the character and what's built into the person is one of the things, or one of the big reasons that changes or shows the difference in the impact that you get from the leadership. The person who's given responsibility. Who is that person? What is that person like? What are their belief system? What are their value system? Values. And of course, there are two different types of values, right? There are the what you call it, spiritual values, and then there's personality values. And the spiritual values have to do with life and death, right and wrong, that sort of thing. And what the personality values really just has to do with preferences. Some people preferences, which a lot of people don't talk about. It's not a big topic a lot of people are aware of. Some people's personality is adventure. They love adventure. So once you change, say for example, you have an organization, you have a team, and you put a person who enjoy adventure as the leader of the team, the dynamics of the team change. The way they operate change. What they go after change, what they value change, right? What excites them change. But then another person you put in charge, and that person might be a person whose value system is peace, not adventure. It might be just peace. The dynamics change again, right? So those value systems, value personality values, it's not one is right and one is wrong. It's just difference in personality. Right? That happens. That happens a lot in politics as well, in governments. All right. So it happens in families, kind of family, where what's the value system of the leader, what they enjoy, right? What's their preference? That's the dynamic. That the dynamics change based upon that. But of course, we know about the spiritual values, which are principles in life. That leads to like integrity or truth and things like that, honesty, all these things, and confidence, boldness, or fear, timidity. All of those things are different. Those are spiritual values, right? Somebody could be a person of fear, of timidity, and they can shut down the whole thing. So the person who or what that person is influences the impact you get from the company, the group or nation that they're ruling, right? That they're leading, okay, or the assignment that they're leading. Of course, the third one, of course, is the assignment. The project itself. Because of the type of project, you will get a kind of impact, kind of assignment you get. So some, for example, if you have an assignment or project in the military that has to do with warfare, you see a different impact than if the same military have an assignment of disaster relief. Same people, right? But the assignment is disaster relief. You see a difference in that as opposed to warfare, right? So you can have the same group, but the assignment could change the impact you get, the result you get, how the people operate, how everything comes out, or the outcome you get is different based upon the assignment, even though it's the same group, right? Or the same leader. Okay. So these are things that you can change. Most importantly, you can change you, the person, and say, okay, based upon what is happening here in the family, in the community, in the nation, in this organization, based upon what we're seeing that is needed, me, the person, recognize some weaknesses, some challenges, which cannot meet that problem effectively, cannot change that problem effectively. So that you can adjust. The project might be there's a disaster, there's a crisis, there's an issue. Somebody needs to do something about it. You're given authority, so those things are there, but you might not have the personality, might not have the ability, the capacity, the capability to deal with the issue. What do? You make the adjustments. Some adjustments could be you bring people around you who have the ability, the capacity to do it. You take courage from them. You meet with them, connect with them, and you take courage. You do something. You impact a different way. You ask questions, you interact, you get ideas. And part of leadership could be delegation. You can delegate things, responsibilities, because certain people have the capacity to attack certain things head on, which might be needed in certain situations, and you might not be that person at the time, right? As a matter of fact, that is something that happened in England with Winston Churchill because of the war. Is that he was brought in because of the war. So adjustments like that are made by people, by even governments, as to what is needed at this time. Okay, so some people, because of pride, don't do it. They don't recognize their weaknesses, as we talk about mistakes and things like that, weaknesses and so forth in the last video. A lot of people don't recognize their weaknesses and their failures and their shortcomings, and they think that they're good at everything, and you recognize, no, we're not. Hey, one of the biggest things for a leader to discover: I am not called to do everything, one, and I'm not good at everything. I'm not great at everything. I will suck at something. I will fail at some things. Some things, it's just not me, right? And instead of me trying to force myself to be, no, I need to be myself, and ask God for guidance and for the help to get these things done. And that means getting the right people in place. God sends the right people in place. You ask Him for the right people, right? You ask the authority for different people to get things done, right? This is what is done. I remember when I was studying business development with EMIT, and the first time I learned this thing about systems depending on, or when you're developing business systems, the focus is on positions and on people. It's like, wow, that was interesting. Yeah, where you design a position and you articulate and design and set up what is needed to fulfill this position, to carry out these responsibilities, right? Sometimes you're not aware, you want a position, you want some responsibilities done, you're not aware what the position to fulfill those responsibilities is called. You don't know what it's called. You don't know what kind of person is needed to carry out those responsibilities. So you ask questions, you interact, you find out from business developers what is needed to fulfill this, or what kind of person would I need. So person has to do it. You're designing maybe the characteristic in which will be needed in the position, not a particular person that you're calling off the street, or that you're interviewing, and you want that person. But no, you're looking for characteristics that will fulfill this responsibility and this in this position. I remember learning about this thing, and what they were trying to show is that a lot of franchises are built like that, so that a franchise doesn't depend on a person, it depends on a system. So no person could say, well, they have the monopoly of doing this thing, or this fulfilling this particular role in the organization, in a franchise. Nobody has that, because it's designed so you could put anybody in the position and train them or interview them or make sure they fit in, carry out the responsibilities correctly to fulfill the mandate of that position, right? So that is something that is done in franchises. So something happened to somebody, no problem. We bring in somebody else. We have a list. Even sometimes they have a list, and this is what is needed here. And we recognize this is the kind of person you are. You might fit here if you want it, but these adjustments. Of course, they recognize that the persons have weaknesses as well, so they wouldn't fit in certain other positions, right? So those are things that are important in recognizing in yourself your own weaknesses, your own shortcomings, and then know what capacity is needed, what capabilities are needed for you to rub shoulders with somebody else who have those capacities and have that capability, right? Just yesterday, I met with a friend of mine's. He focused a lot on local clients, and by extension,